Marqos, Mark, chapter 14. Now the Pesach and Matzot was after 2 days, and the chief Kohanim and the scribes were seeking how to take him through treachery and put him to death. And they said, Not at the festival, lest there shall be an uproar of the people. And while he was in Beth Anya in the house of Shimon the leper, and sitting at the table, a woman came having an alabaster flask of perfume, genuine nard, very costly, and breaking the flask she poured it on his head. But there were some who were much displeased among themselves and said, Why was this perfume wasted? For it could have been sold for more than 300 pieces of silver and given to the poor. And they were scolding her. But Yahushua said, Leave her alone. Why do you trouble her? She has done a good work for me. For you have the poor with you always, and whenever you want, you are able to do good to them. But you do not always have me. What she had, she used. She took it beforehand to anoint my body for the burial. Truly, I say to you, wherever this good news is proclaimed in all the world, what this woman did shall also be spoken of to her remembrance. And Yehuda from Kerioth, one of the 12, went to the chief Kohanim to deliver him up to them. And when they heard it, they were glad, and promised to give him silver. And he was seeking how to deliver him up conveniently. And on the first day of Matzot, when they were slaughtering the Pesach, his Talmidim said to him, Where do you want us to go and prepare for you to eat the Pesach? And he sent out 2 of his Talmidim and said to them, Go into the city, and there a man bearing a jar of water shall meet you. Follow him, and wherever he enters, say to the master of the house, The teacher says, Where is the guest room in which I am to eat the Pesach with my Talmidim? And he shall show you a large upper room, furnished, ready. Prepare for us there. And his Talmidim went out and came into the city, and found it as he said to them, and they prepared the Pesach. And evening having come, he came with the 12. And as they sat and ate, Yahushua said, Truly, I say to you, one of you who is eating with me shall deliver me up. And they began to be grieved, and to say to him one by one, Is it I? And another, Is it I? And he answering said to them, It is one of the 12, he who is dipping with me in the dish. The bane of Adon is indeed going, as it has been written of him. But woe to that man by whom the bane of Adon is delivered up. It would have been good for that man if he had not been born. And as they were eating, Yahushua took bread, having barach, broke it, gave it to them, and said, Take, eat, this is my body. And taking the cup, giving thanks, he gave it to them, and they all drank from it. And he said to them, This is my blood, that of the renewed covenant, which is shed for many. Truly, I say to you, I shall certainly no more drink of the fruit of the vine till that day when I drink it anew in the reign of Elohim. And having sung a song, they went out to the Mount of Olives, and Yahushua said to them, All of you shall stumble in me this night, for it has been written, I shall strike the shepherd, and the sheep shall be scattered. But after I am raised, I shall go before you to Galilee. And Kepha said to him, Even if all shall stumble, yet not I. And Yahushua said to him, Truly, I say to you that today, this night, before the cock shall crow twice, you shall deny me 3 times. But he spoke more strongly, If I have to die with you, I shall not deny you. And they all said the same. And they came to a place called Gath-Shemen, and he said to his Talmidim, Sit here while I pray. And he took with him Kepha and Yaakov and Yochanan, and he began to be greatly alarmed and to be deeply distressed. And he said to them, My being is exceedingly grieved, even to death. Stay here and watch. And he went on a little and fell on the ground and was praying that if it were possible, the hour might pass from him. And he said, Abba, Father, all is possible for you. Make this cup pass from me, yet not what I desire, but what you. And he came and found them sleeping and said to Kepha, Shimon, are you sleeping? You were not able to watch 1 hour. Watch and pray, lest you enter into trial. The spirit indeed is eager, but the flesh is weak. And again he went away and prayed and spoke the same words. And having returned, he found them asleep again, for their eyes were heavy, and they did not know what to answer him. And he came the 3rd time and said to them, Are you still sleeping and resting? It is enough. The hour has come. See, the bane of Adon is being delivered up into the hands of the sinners. Rise up, let us go. See, he who is delivering me up has drawn near. And immediately while he was still speaking, Yehuda, one of the 12, with a large crowd with swords and clubs, came from the chief Kohanim and the scribes and the elders. And the one who was delivering him up had given them a signal, saying, Whomever I kiss, it is he. Seize him and lead him away safely. And going straight up to him, he said to him, Rabbi, Rabbi, and kissed him. And they laid their hands on him and seized him. And one of those standing by drew his sword and struck the servant of the Kohen Hagadol and cut off his ear. And Yahushua answering said to them, Have you come out as against a robber with swords and clubs to take me? Daily I was with you in the Mikdash teaching, and you did not seize me. But let these scriptures be filled. And they all left him and fled. And a certain young man was following him, having a linen cloth over his nakedness. And when they seized him, he left the linen cloth and fled from them naked. And they led Yahushua away to the Kohen Hagadol, and all the chief Kohanim and the elders and the scribes came together to him. And Kepha followed him at a distance, even into the courtyard of the Kohen Hagadol, and he was sitting with the officers and warming himself at the fire. And the chief Kohanim and all the council were seeking witness against Yahushua to put him to death, and they were finding none. For many bore false witness against him, but their evidences did not agree. And some rose up and bore false witness against him, saying, We heard him saying, I shall destroy this Mishkan that is made with hands, and within 3 days I shall build another made without hands. And not even then did their witness agree. Then the Kohen Hagadol stood up in the center and asked Yahushua, saying, Have you no answer to make? What do these witness against you? But he remained silent and gave no answer. Again the Kohen Hagadol asked him, saying to him, Are you Hamashiach, the bane of the Baruch? And Yahushua said, I am. And you shall see the bane of Adam sitting at the right hand of the Almighty and coming with the clouds of the Shemaim. And tearing his garments, the Kohen Hagadol said, What further need do we have of witnesses? You have heard the blasphemy. What do you think? And they all condemned him to be liable to death. And some began to spit on him and to blindfold him and to beat him and to say to him, Navah! And the officers struck him with the palms of their hands. And as Kepha was below in the courtyard, one of the servant girls of the Kohen Hagadol came, and seeing Kepha warming himself, she looked at him and said, And you were with Yahushua of Nazareth. But he denied it, saying, I do not know nor understand what you are saying. And he went out unto the porch, and a cock crowed. And the servant girl saw him again, and began to say to those who stood by, This is one of them. And again he was denying it, and after a little while those who stood by again said to Kepha, Truly, you are one of them, for you are a Galilean too, for your speech is alike. And he began to curse and swear, I do not know this man of whom you speak. And a second time the cock crowed, and Kepha remembered the word that Yahushua had said to him, "Before the cock crows twice, you shall deny me 3 times." And thinking on it, he wept. Marqos, Mark, chapter 15. And immediately in the morning the chief Kohanim took counsel with the elders and scribes and all the council. Having bound Yahushua, they led him away and delivered him to Pilatus. And Pilatus asked him, "You are the sovereign of the Yahudim?" And he answering said to him, "You say it." And the chief Kohanim accused him of much, but he made no answer. And Pilatus again asked him, saying, "Have you no answer? See how much they witness against you?" But Yahushua still gave no answer, so that Pilatus marveled. And at a festival he released to them one prisoner, whomever they were asking. And there was one called Barabbas, chained with his fellow rebels, who had committed murder in the uprising. And the crowd, crying aloud, began to ask, as he had always done for them. But Pilatus answered them, saying, "Do you want me to release for you the sovereign of the Yahudim?" For he knew that the chief Kohanim had handed him over because of envy. And the chief Kohanim stirred up the crowd that he should rather release Barabbas to them. And Pilatus answered and again said to them, "What then do you want me to do to whom you call the sovereign of the Yahudim?" And again they cried out, "Impale him!" And Pilatus said to them, "Why, what evil has he done?" And they vehemently cried out, "Impale him!" And Pilatus, wanting to satisfy the crowd, released Barabbas to them, and having whipped, he delivered Yahushua over to be impaled. And the soldiers led him away into the court, which is the palace, and they called together the entire squad, and decked him with purple, and they plaited a crown of thorns, put it on him, and they began to call out to him, "Greetings, sovereign of the Yahudim!" And they kept beating him on the head with a reed, and were spitting on him, and bending the knee, they were bowing down to him. And when they had mocked him, they took the purple off him, and put his own garments on him, and led him out to impale him. And they compelled a passerby, Shimon a Kernaian, coming from a field, the father of Alexandros and Rufus, to bear his stake. And they brought him to the place Golgotha, which is translated, place of a skull. And they were giving him wine mixed with myrrh to drink, but he did not take it. And when they impaled him, they divided his garments, casting lots for them, what each one should take. And it was the 3rd hour, and they impaled him. And the inscription of his accusation was written above, "The sovereign of the Yahudim." And with him they impaled 2 robbers, one on his right and the other on his left. And the scripture was filled, which says, "And he was reckoned with the lawless." And those passing by were blaspheming him, shaking their heads and saying, "Ah, you who destroy the Mishkan and built it in 3 days, save yourself and come down from the stake." And likewise the chief Kohanim and the scribes, mocking to one another, said, "He saved others, he is unable to save himself. Hamashiach, the sovereign of Yisrael, come down from the stake so that we see and believe." And those who were impaled with him were reproaching him. And when the 6th hour came, darkness came over all the land until the 9th hour. And at the 9th hour Yahushua cried out with a loud voice, saying, "Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani," which is translated, my El, why have you forsaken me?" And some of those standing by, when they heard it, said, "See, he is calling for Eliyahu." And someone ran and filled a sponge with vinegar and put it on a reed and offered it to him to drink, saying, "Leave him, let us see if Eliyahu comes to take him down." And Yahushua cried out with a loud voice and breathed his last. And the veil of the Mishkan was torn in two from top to bottom. And when the captain who was standing opposite him saw that he cried out like this and breathed his last, he said, "Truly, this man was the bane of Elohim." And there were also women watching from a distance, among whom was Miriam from Magdala, and Miriam the mother of Yaakov the Less, and of Yosef, and Shalomah, who also followed him and attended him when he was in Galilee, and many other women who came up with him to Jerusalem. And when evening had come, because it was the preparation day, that is, the day before the Shabbat, Yosef of Ramathaim, a prominent council member, who was himself waiting for the reign of Elohim, came, boldly went in to Pilatus and asked for the body of Yahusha. But Pilatus wondered whether he was already dead. So summoning the captain, he asked him if he was already dead. And when he learned from the captain, he gave the body to Yosef. And he, having bought fine linen, took him down and wrapped him in the linen. And he laid him in a tomb which had been hewn out of the rock, and rolled a stone against the entrance of the tomb. And Miriam from Magdala and Miriam of Yosef saw where he was laid. Marqos, Mark, chapter 16. And when the Shabbat was past, Miriam from Magdala and Miriam of Yaakov and Shalomah bought spices to go and anoint him. And very early morning on one of the Shabbatot they came to the tomb when the sun had risen. And they said among themselves, "Who shall roll away the stone from the entrance of the tomb for us?" And looking up, they saw that the stone had been rolled away, for it was extremely large. And having entered into the tomb, they saw a young man sitting on the right, wearing a white robe, and they were greatly alarmed. And he said to them, "Do not be much alarmed. You seek Yahushua of Nazareth, who was impaled. He is raised. He is not here. See the place where they laid him, and go say to his Talmidim and Kepha that he is going before you into Galilee. You shall see him there, as he said to you." And they went out and fled from the tomb, and were trembling and bewildered, and they spoke to no one, for they were afraid. And having risen in the morning on one of the Shabbatot, he appeared first to Miriam from Magdala, from whom he had cast out 7 demons. She went and reported to those who had been with him, mourning and weeping. And when they heard that he was alive and had been seen by her, they did not believe. And after this he appeared in another form to 2 of them as they walked and went into a field. And they went and reported it to the rest, but they did not believe them either. Later he appeared to the 11 as they sat at the table, and he reproached their unbelief and hardness of heart, because they did not believe those who had seen him after he was raised. And he said to them, "Go into all the world and proclaim the good news to every creature. He who has believed and has been immersed shall be saved, but he who has not believed shall be condemned. And these signs shall accompany the ones who believe. In my name they shall cast out demons, they shall speak with renewed tongues, they shall take up snakes, and if they drink anything deadly, it shall by no means hurt them. They shall lay hands on the sick, and they shall get well." Then indeed, after the Adon had spoken to them, he was received up into the Shemaim, and sat down at the right hand of Yahuah. And they went out and proclaimed it everywhere, while the Adon worked with them and confirmed the word through the accompanying signs. Amen.